This could be the biggest political humiliation Britain has seen in decades. A moment so explosive, so utterly unprecedented, it has sent shockwaves from Westminster to Washington and has left our own Prime Minister completely and utterly broken. It all started with just 2 words. 2 words sent in a private message from Israel to Britain that have plunged the new Labour government into absolute chaos. We're not talking about diplomacy here. We're not talking about carefully chosen language. This was raw. This was brutal. This was a message designed to inflict maximum political damage. And tonight, sources inside Downing Street are describing the atmosphere as pure, unadulterated panic. Ministers are cancelling meetings. Emergency calls are being made to allies who are refusing to pick up the phone. Keir Starmer, the man who promised a new era of stability, is now facing a crisis that could not only end his premiership, but could fundamentally change Britain's place in the world forever. So how did we get here? And what were those 2 words that have brought our nation to the brink? Let's be clear. For anyone just catching up, this firestorm was ignited by Prime Minister Keir Starmer's historic, and many would say reckless, decision to formally recognise the state of Palestine. It was a move celebrated by activists, but it was a declaration of war to our closest allies in the Middle East. Immediately, the diplomatic fallout was biblical. Washington was furious. Tel Aviv was outraged. But behind the scenes, behind the polite press conferences and the carefully worded statements, something far darker was brewing. Intelligence officials had been quietly warning the government for weeks that Israel's patience was wearing thin. They warned that retaliation wouldn't be public. It would be swift, silent and devastating. Still nobody, not even the most seasoned spies in MI6, expected this. Late last night, a private diplomatic cable landed at the British Embassy in Tel Aviv. It wasn't a long, detailed letter. There were no negotiations, no demands, no explanations. It was just 2 words sent directly to the Prime Minister's office. Those 2 words were game over, game over. Can you even begin to imagine the chilling effect those words had inside Number 10? The message was immediately flagged as a level 1 security threat and rushed straight to London. Within minutes, the Prime Minister's office was in total lockdown. Advisors were screaming down hallways, pouring into the cabinet room, trying desperately to decipher what this meant. Was it just symbolic, a piece of diplomatic theatre, or was it a direct threat? A declaration that the decades-long special relationship between the UK and Israel had just been executed live and in real time. The Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, reportedly demanded a full translation check. He couldn't believe it. He thought maybe, just maybe, it was some kind of catastrophic misunderstanding. It wasn't. Multiple intelligence sources confirmed it. The message was intentional, it was precise, and it was a diplomatic kill shot. Israel had just slammed the door in Britain's face and they'd welded it shut. And what happened next will leave you stunned. Inside the Labour Party, the initial shock quickly spiralled into bitter internal warfare. Senior ministers are now openly clashing behind closed doors. We're hearing reports that the Home Secretary and several cabinet veterans are begging Starmer to issue an immediate public apology, to get on his knees and ask for forgiveness before it's too late. They're telling him to walk it back, to save the country from the consequences of his moral grandstanding. But Starmer, ever the stubborn lawyer, has reportedly refused. He believes that backing down now would be a catastrophic show of weakness. It would make Britain look like a pathetic, spineless nation that can be bullied into submission by a single email. But his aides are describing him as visibly shaken. One insider leaked a devastating quote to the press saying, "You could see the terror in his face. He finally realised this isn't just about foreign policy anymore. This is about his own political survival." And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. The whispers of game over were about to become a deafening roar. Leaked reports began flooding the internet, suggesting Israel is immediately suspending all key intelligence sharing channels with the UK. Let me be crystal clear about what that means. These are the very channels our security services, MI6 and GCHQ, rely on to track terrorist activity across the Middle East. It's the data that stops bomb plots in London. It's the information that keeps us safe. And Israel just cut it off. Cold, total, immediate. This isn't just a political embarrassment. This is a national security nightmare. Our own spies are reportedly furious, with one senior MI6 source calling it a brutal betrayal dressed up as strategy. They feel naked, they feel abandoned, and they feel like their own government has thrown them to the wolves. But the humiliation was only just beginning. Israel's foreign ministry then called a press conference that stunned every journalist in the room. They released a formal statement, a statement that will surely be carved into the tombstone of this government. It read, "The United Kingdom has chosen sides. History will remember its decision." Think about that. History will remember. That single line sent shockwaves through the global financial markets. The pound sterling immediately dipped. Middle East oil futures spiked. Global investors started panicking, asking the one question that should terrify every single person in this country. Is Britain becoming a pariah state? An unreliable, isolated island that nobody trusts? And while Westminster was melting down, the international reaction was even more chilling. France is staying, silent, watching us burn. Germany is concerned, the diplomatic equivalent of offering thoughts and prayers. But the United States, our closest ally, they are furious. An anonymous State Department source gave a quote that was practically dripping with contempt. They said, "We told them this would happen." There's now serious talk that Washington might quietly side with Israel in upcoming trade negotiations, freezing Britain out of multi-billion-pound defence contracts as a punishment for our reckless diplomacy. All of this chaos, this panic, this international humiliation was triggered by Starmer's letter recognising Palestine and answered with just 2 words. But here is the shocking twist that nobody, and I mean nobody, expected. The leak that began circulating this morning might be the single most explosive political scandal in modern British history. It's a leak that could not only destroy Keir Starmer, but it could dismantle the entire Labour Party. According to multiple high-level diplomatic sources, Israel is now preparing to declassify a series of top-secret intelligence documents. And what do these documents allegedly show? Secret off-the-books meetings between senior Labour Party officials and Palestinian representatives. Meetings that took place before the recognition letter was ever made public. Do you understand what that means if this is true? It would prove that Starmer's decision wasn't some brave act of moral conviction. It would look like it was all pre-arranged political theatre. A dirty backroom deal cooked up in secret to win political points with no regard for the catastrophic consequences. Imagine the headlines: Starmer's secret deal, the betrayal of Britain, the letter that lied to the world. The Conservative opposition is already sharpening their knives, demanding a full public inquiry. They're calling this the gravest national security scandal since the Iraq War. This isn't just about foreign policy anymore. This is about trust. This is about integrity. Has Keir Starmer dragged Britain into a diplomatic black hole based on a lie? Has he gambled our national security, our economy, and our international standing for his own political gain? The storm is gathering, the walls are closing in, and the 2 words "game over" are no longer just a message. They are starting to feel like a prophecy. So here we are, a nation on a knife edge, caught between a prime minister who believes he's on the right side of history and a furious ally who has just declared game over. The question for all of us is this: is this the moment Britain finally found its independent voice on the world stage? Or is it the moment we lost our most critical allies and plunged ourselves into a crisis we cannot escape? This isn't just a political debate. It's about the future of our country. I genuinely want to see what you think down in the comments. Is Starmer a hero for his stance, or has he committed an unforgivable act of betrayal? Because one thing is certain, this story is developing by the hour, and the next move on this chessboard could change everything.